Their success becomes your insecurity. Their progress becomes your disappointment. When comparison becomes your default setting, comparison changes how you see yourself quietly. At first, it feels harmless. You notice someone else succeeding, moving faster, or doing better. But eventually, comparison stops being occasional and starts becoming automatic. You begin measuring your life against everyone else around you. Their success becomes your insecurity. Their progress becomes your disappointment. And slowly, you stop seeing your own life clearly. You're scrolling through your phone late at night while you're laying in bed, watching other people appear confident, successful, productive, or even fulfilled. You tell yourself it doesn't affect me in any way. Yet, something still feels heavier afterwards. Because comparison rarely produces peace, it usually produces distortion. There's two parts of scripture that I want to read from. One is in Galatians and one is in 2 Corinthians, actually back to back, pretty close. Galatians 6, chapter 6, verses 4 through 5. It reads, "Let each person examine his own work, and then he can take pride in himself alone and not compare himself with someone else, for each person will have to carry his own load." It encourages personal honesty and responsibility without constant comparison to others. The passage that reflects steadiness is rooted in individual faithfulness rather than competition. The second scripture is 2 Corinthians 10, verse 12. And it reads, "For we do not dare classify or compare ourselves with someone who commends themselves, but in measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves to themselves, they lack understanding." It warns against measuring worth through comparison with other people. The passage reflects how distorted self-perception becomes identity, or it becomes when identity depends on external measures. Comparison becomes dangerous because it changes your focus constantly all the time. Instead of asking, "Am I growing?" you begin to say, "Am I ahead?" Instead of noticing your own direction, you become consumed by everybody else's pace. That pressure quietly steals gratitude. It quietly steals clarity or emotional stability. So, today, try this. You don't need to measure your worth against someone else's visible success. You're allowed to grow at a different pace. You're allowed to have different paths. Because comparison rarely helps identity become healthier. Most of the time, it only makes identity harder to recognize clearly. Hope this helps.